This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with Jerry Davies from Nazures, the makers of Balldo. Adult Site Broker is proud to announce the launch of our new website, Adult Site Broker 3.0, at adultsitebroker.com. The look and feel of the new site is nice and up to date and easier to navigate. The new site also has links to our affiliate program, ASB Cash, and our new blog. Speaking of ASB Cash, we've doubled our affiliate payouts. That's right. Now when you refer sellers or buyers to us at Adult Site Broker, you're going to receive 20% of our broker commission on any and all sales that result from that referral for life. You can either place a link to us on your site or refer buyers and sellers through an email introduction. ASB Cash is the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer an amazing opportunity. If you're in the live cams, model management, or fan site space, or want to get into them, we have a private listing that may be just right for you. This company works with all major campsites and has access to hundreds of US-based models. We're offering very limited information at the seller's request in order to maintain privacy. We anticipate multiple offers for this very rare listing. For more information, contact us on our website at adultsitebroker.com. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Jerry Davies of Nazures, the makers of Balldo. Jerry, thanks for being with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
It's a pleasure, Bruce. Very glad to be here.
Glad to have you. It took us a while.
Yeah, well, we got here in the end. So, I can't wait to have this chat.
Indeed, me too. Now, Jerry is your classic ahead-of-the-game entrepreneur, having predicted market trends by setting up the world's first Eco superstore in Australia in 2007, and by doing an electric bike manufacturing company in the UK in 2014. Most recently, he designed Nazures' first product, the Balldo. Jerry and his now business partner Elizabeth saw the massive untapped opportunity with products for men's balls one night while making ball jokes over a bottle of wine. It must have been a good one to be at. In 2019, they patented Balldo and a whole range of other ball-related products. They used crowdfunding to fund the Balldo. With the campaign launching in February 2021, Balldo hit its funding target in 10 hours and went on to sell $105,000 worth of products via Indiegogo. The hilarious launch video of the Balldo, and you've got to see this, it's just, God, it will have you on the floor. It cemented its position as a cult icon, particularly in the U.S., where it's received high-profile coverage on Howard Stern, Cosmopolitan, Vice, Wired, and Playboy, to name a few. So Jerry was on Howard Stern. Now he's really slumming it with me. Nazures is working hard to launch more products, including a new and improved vibrating version of the Balldo. It will be on the shelves at Christmas time. I'm sorry, Jerry, that's all the time we have for today. Just kidding. When did you first realize that you were an entrepreneur?
That's a funny one, actually, Bruce, because I think, I was selling, buying secondhand lawnmowers at the age of about 14 and earning more money than my father by giving him a wipe with an oily rag and selling them on. So technically, I kind of should have been classified as an entrepreneur then, but it wasn't right until my sort of late 30s that I really thought, hang on a minute, I've got this pattern of do a normal job, get bored, come up with an idea, start a business and do that business, So it took a long while, there was nobody there to tell me you are an entrepreneur, I just had to sort of figure it out for myself.
Sure. Well, nobody ever tells you. Look, here's the thing. You're either an entrepreneur or you're not. And there are two types of people in this world. There are people who have companies and there are people who work for those companies.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's. I think what I'm trying to say is my sort of entrepreneurialism is kind of
Hmm.
mixed with being an inventor as well.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm a kind of inventor entrepreneur is probably the best way to describe me.
And what was your first invention?
What was my first invention? I think I invented a wind turbine that fitted underneath the eaves of a house
Hmm.
and when I was about 5 for a TV show, and I won a prize
Wow.
for it. But it wouldn't have worked. Never would have worked. But at least I had a go.
You invented it. Nobody ever said it had to
Yeah,
work.
probably people have invented it right now. I mean, that's one thing you realize about being a sort of inventor is an entrepreneur is there's so many people who are just launching stuff that's just never going to work, and they raise the
Yeah.
money for it
Right.
and get some investment, but it doesn't
Hmm.
work.
Well, how about practical? How about practical inventions that did work? What was the first one of those?
Ooh, the first one that worked. I would say it was a. I was working for a major biscuit manufacturer, cookie
Hmm.
manufacturer in US parlance,
Hmm.
and there was a particular type of conveyor which sort of whizzed these biscuits all over the factory, and I
Hmm.
invented this sort of universal guide rail for this conveyor that could be sort of rapidly moved up, down, left, right, and all that sort of stuff. But I was pretty young, didn't have any
Hmm.
financial backing. I tried to patent it, didn't end up doing it just because of the cost,
Yeah.
but I would say that was my first sort of unique invention.
Very,
But
very cool.
I've actually seen that been done, you know, maybe 10 years ago. Somebody sort of did it and commercialized it. So, you know,
Damn it. That was
yeah,
your
I know.
invention.
I know, but unless you've got a huge pot of money and endless
Hmm.
patience with patent writing,
Right.
uh, it's you can't just keep pumping out the ideas. You have to
Ye-
keep some in your head.
Yeah. Inventing things is really an art unto itself, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely, and I think qualification is the key skill you have as an inventor. It's
Hmm.
just is what you've come up with a a product that's actually useful.
Hmm.
Is it a product that's going to make any money?
Right.
Is it a product that's going to maybe be more relevant in the future than it is now? If so,
Hmm.
is your patent worthwhile investing in now to wait for
Yeah.
something to happen 15
Sure.
years down the track? So I
Hmm.
think qualification, looking at spreading it all out, doing your research, that is the skill of being an inventor, I think.
Just like what you just talked about, was there other knowledge that you picked up in your early experiences that you have now that you wished you had back then?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, we, my business partner and I, back in Australia in the early noughties, we set up this eco superstore, and one of the things we did was carbon trading. So we were replacing light globes and in people's houses and
Hmm.
fitting solar panels, and we were basically getting a carbon credit, which we could then trade on the market.
Sure.
And this business, I went from sort of earning 30 grand a year to earning, 10 million a year within
Mm.
1 year.
Wow.
And we did that for 3 years running. So totally wet behind the ears. No idea about finances. Just kept thinking, oh, the gold's just going to keep coming year after year, and we'll build our dream of
Yeah.
this being a mainstream brand all around the world. We never had our eye on the books, and particularly the risks that we were exposed to.
Hmm.
And I think, now if I could go back and speak to myself back then, I'd just go, look, this is a P&L, this is a balance sheet. Look at the size of your payroll bill. um,
Yeah.
this is something called forecasting. What happens if sort of modeling?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing was, don't trust your bloody accountants. You need to check what they've done and
Right.
forensically analyze what they're advising you, and maybe take second and third opinions, because
Sure.
we just employed some reasonably high tier accountants who just charged us an absolute fortune and didn't really give us any, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the single biggest hole in my early experience, was just the financial
Right.
understanding, I think. And it's such a
Sure.
shame, because there was a lot of money in that business, a lot of money.
I bet. So tell us how you came up with the idea of the Baldo.
Yeah, so the wine and the as discussed in the sort of the preamble, was
Yeah.
kind of like the culmination of the qualification period. So I'm a kinky bastard, and I I like
Aren't we all?
experimenting. So I like sort of experimenting a bit, and I actually, it's a funny story, this. So I went on a friend of mine's stag do. I don't know if you call it a stag do in the US.
What's that?
His Bucks party before you get married.
Oh, you're talking about a bachelor party.
Bachelor party. There you go. So
Yes.
we
Tom
we
Hanks.
did.
Great movie.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that. I must watch it. We,
Oh
we
my
we did
God.
this.
Yes, you must. It's a classic.
We did this thing called oceaneering. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's basically you clamber along rocks on the coastline, on a cliff, and then you just jump in off those rocks into the ocean.
I
Um,
mean, what could go wrong, right?
well, here's what went wrong. So I was wearing some non appropriate underwear, shall we say, or I wasn't wearing my speedo, which kept my nuts tightly fastened to my body. So I jumped off this rock, and I ended up, as we say in the UK, dropping a ball, dropping a bollock, and
Oh, shit.
I came out, and my balls were just sort of feeling a bit weird, and I looked, and one of them was just much lower than the other, and I was like, oh no, what's going on here? And took some advice from the doctor, and he said, oh, you've got to be very careful here, because you've effectively stretched your tubes going to your testes, and I
No.
was like, no, it
This is
honestly
making
felt
this
like
is
my.
making me hurt just hearing about it.
But the weird thing was, I thought, well, hang on a minute. This when I pull down on my ball sack with my thumb and my forefinger, they feel okay. They feel all right.
Uh-huh.
So I bought myself one of these stainless steel ball stretchers,
Uh-huh.
and I wore that for a bit, and the problem went away. It's just kind of like put them in the right place and stop them feeling
Okay.
like they were sort of loose, uh, rolling around in the trunk of the car.
Well, that's good to
And
hear.
yeah, so I managed to sort of cure myself just by sort of reorganizing my balls, shall we say. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute. This is actually quite a nice sensation. I like this. People have been doing this for years. It's way popular in the gay community. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and I thought, well, what about if I add a bit more weight to this, and how much can the balls take? And
Oh, God.
I was sort of pleasantly surprised that, and this is it. I'm not an extreme person in this sense at all. I'm not into pain and stuff like that in the bedroom. It was just more sort of a mild, sort of edging sort of sensation. So yeah, the ball. I figured out the balls could actually really take quite a lot of weight. I found out that they felt a lot happier being sort of cupped or held in a position. And I've always had really sort of sensitive balls. I don't like people licking them or poking them or fondling them. I like them to be sort of slightly tugged. A bit of a, just think of that thumb and forefinger around the top, pulling down a little bit.
Mm.
That is the sort of optimum position for the balls.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, we being engineers that we are, having a 3D printer, we made some early prototypes of a kind of ball cage that sort of organized the balls and
Mhm.
the idea originally was it would be a sort of edging device and a tugging device. And then we
Right.
thought, well, geez, actually you could put these inside somebody, and that's when we
Mm-hmm.
sort of put the tip on the front, and we had to invent a non-compressible core that actually was expandable in one plane, so you could get the balls in the top.
Mm-hmm.
And hey ho, that first ball sex experience was had, and it was good.
I'll
So
take your word for
yeah.
it.
Well, this is it. There's like you were saying earlier, there's the people who work for people and the people who own companies. I think it's the
Yes.
same with balls. I think
Yes.
absolutely the same with balls. You have the people who, you go near my balls, I'll punch you in the face. And then you have the, do what you like with my balls, I love it. There's those two camps. And what I figured out is, if you tell the guys who want to run a mile, when you mention anything about balls, to just cut their balls and just do what I said, just tug down a little bit, they go, oh yeah, that's nice, I like that, my balls feel safe. So
Hmm.
it's a case of convincing those people that you're going to be all right if you wear a
Yeah.
Balldo or anything
Right.
like that.
Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely a bit of a paradigm shift. And yeah, I mean, my initial impression is, balls, huh? But hey, um, you know, I know that from everything you and I have talked about, it's something that can be very useful. Tell us what steps you took to patent the idea and what is actually protected by the patent.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that because it's patented.
Yes.
And there's all this sort of stuff about, oh, you must have an NDA before you talk to people. Well, a patent's the best NDA in the world, in my
Yes, it
view, and
is.
I have been advised as such. So, yeah, the steps to patent were basically prototype, prototype, prototype. Record all your prototypes.
Mhm.
Record all of the possibilities, all of the connections, all of
Now, when
the
you say
variations.
record, what do you mean?
Document.
Mm.
It's almost like
Okay.
you're keeping a journal of what you've done, all the different things that work, didn't work, because when you patent something, you can record all of those,
Yes,
um,
and include them.
include them. Yeah, sorry,
Yes,
include.
yes.
And the only thing stopping you from including all of those options that you've explored is that it might conflict with somebody else's patent, somebody else's prior art. So
Sure.
in the case of Balldo, I think we've got over 35 pages of variants of the Balldo and ball cages that allow attachment, either tips for penetrations or tuggers or
Mhm.
vibrations, and all of the attachment mechanisms possible. So
Yeah.
it's a very robust, wide encompassing patent. Yeah, in terms of the steps of doing it, we got the UK patent first, and then by doing so, you get a grace period, sort of internationally, where you can then
I see.
file something called the PCT, which is it's kind of like the International Patent Convention Treaty. And
Mm, okay.
once you file that then gives you 2 years of protection internationally, to give you time to then file in each of those nations. So, as a result of doing well over the last 2 years since we filed the PCT, we have chosen the markets that we think we want to secure,
Yeah.
and we've filed individual local patents in those areas.
Right.
I mean, unless you've got $500,000 in the bank and you want to throw that at patenting in every single country in the world,
Yeah.
you've got to look at where the value is.
Right.
So
You pick your best markets.
exactly. So that's what's been done, and
Mhm.
here we are. And now, by virtue of having this patent, we've got 20 years of exclusivity on the Balldo design, effectively.
Nice.
And I think, because I am prone to coming up with things a little before they're actually sort of I would say sort of the norm in the market, or
Right.
just a standard sort of product.
Mm-hmm.
I think our our sort of our day is yet to come. We've had a good
Sure.
sort of early success, but
Yes.
really, I think balls will be a commonplace thing in all adult stores. There'll be a ball section. There'll be ball categories
Hmm.
in e-commerce sites,
Yeah.
and I think we're still probably 3 to 5 years away from that. But
Okay.
as I said earlier, that was all part of the qualification. How long is it going to take for this to really sort of go off?
Sure.
And where's our value in the patent?
Right. So, what other IP did you have, or do you have?
So obviously you got the brand Balldo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the name Balldo. So that's trademarked internationally as well. That's kind of key because we had a great success with our sort of launch campaign,
Yes.
and as you said earlier, the video was a cartoon we produced, kind of a bit
Fabulous.
South Parkian style. Huge amount of hits,
Yeah.
a lot of traffic coming from that,
Mm-hmm.
and hence, Balldo became this sort of cult comedic kind of thing on a
Right.
lot of the comedy sites.
Right.
And again, I still don't think that's gone anywhere near to its sort of true potential, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of got this cult status, and I think Balldo ends up being a word like dildo, Balldo,
Mm-hmm.
vibrator.
Right.
It's a ball dildo. So there's not a lot of products out there that can just be classified by a single word,
It's true.
and instantly recognized. So again, in that 3 to 5 year scenario, Balldo, I don't want to say it's a household name because it's not a household name, but to all of us grown ups, we'll know what a Balldo is.
Exactly.
And that's our brand. It reflects our IP. It's our
Mm-hmm.
domain name.
Right.
It's like having a website called dildo.com.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Going to look that up. So, how did you go about setting up a crowdfunding campaign?
that was great fun. Actually, I thoroughly recommend it to anyone just to do for a product of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
It's it requires a lot of massaging of
Mm-hmm.
supporters, finding your supporters, and
Right.
again, we were very I don't want to say lucky. I think we planned well in doing the sort of comedic launch video, because that got us our
Absolutely.
6 to 10,000 subscriber base just like that. Literally,
Mm-hmm.
we had those sign-ups in 2 or 3 days, pretty much. It was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So by having that many people paying attention when you launched a campaign, they subscribed, and within 10 hours we got our campaign target. But it was a lot of tweaking, a lot of sort of sort of pre-launch PR interviews, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was tricky, actually, because we had to send out kind of homemade samples to radio shows, to
Right.
TV, to podcasts, and these were, it wasn't ideal sending out a sort of handmade. These were hand poured Baldos that we made in my garage downstairs, in a 3D printed mold. They worked, but they didn't look anywhere near as pretty as the finished product. So
Right.
yeah, it's little bit iffy on the initial impressions, but
Right.
we got there in the end.
That's excellent. So, how about marketing? How did you go about that?
Well, there we go again. So we thought, well, we need to kind of soften this a little bit. If we the people we were speaking to early on, when we first started to sort of connect with the adult industry, were going, oh, that's very niche. It's a chastity device. It's a BDSM device. It's got to be a long while before this becomes a mainstream thing. So we thought, well,
Mm-hmm.
we need to soften this. So let's look at a way that we can make this fun. And one
Right.
of the things that sort of really, really put us on the right track was, I don't know if you remember in the first Jurassic Park, the video when they all sit in the theater and You've got Attenborough there
Mm-hmm.
doing the talk through with the DNA that they find in the mosquito, in the amber.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of simplification
Mm-hmm.
in a cartoon format, that got us thinking. We're like, yeah, why don't we do this? Why don't we have a talking pair of balls, and let's just sort of,
Makes me laugh every time I think about
yeah,
it.
let's do this as a sort of public information film, a bit duck and cover, if you like. We were 100% on the money with that, because what it did was give us instantly the mainstream market. You
Yeah.
had a total turnaround of expectations. We have, I think it's even gone up. Like last time I checked, I think we had like 35% women buying the product. We can clearly see that it's a mainstream sort of buyers. I'd say only about 20% are actually niche, sort of hardcore chastity, BDSM, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So we've done the right thing. We've got it into mainstream, where the bulk of the market is.
Right.
So I think we give ourselves a pat on the back for the marketing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the industry's reaction, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen it in all my years in the industry where someone comes in from the outside with something different, and everybody with their tunnel vision and fine form goes, "Oh no, it'll never work. No, it'll never work. It's very niche. It's very niche. It'll never work." But and a lot of times the people are turned away and it doesn't work. But I love what you've done, and like you said, the mainstream has adopted it. They've been receptive to it, and the mainstream is where you're going to make most of your money.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I
So
think
go ahead.
we had, and just to sort of back up what you're saying there, we had, in joining the XBiz community, and just sort of chatting to people on the forums there,
Hmm.
having sort of early meetings on COVID. Some sort of quite senior figures in the industry were like, I thought I've seen it all. I thought I've
Yeah,
seen it all.
yeah.
And here
It's
you
kind of
go.
what I
You've just
thought.
completely surprised us that this is actually possible, and it's a thing, and it's enjoyable.
Hmm.
So yeah, we kind of, really sort of, I think that really sort of stuck home with us, that we'd come up with something new,
Hmm.
and people were just receptive to it as well.
The
Uh, it,
way I'm different from others in the industry is it's not only my nature, but it's my job to be open-minded. And when something comes
yeah,
along, I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's look into this," as opposed to, "Oh, that'll never work." I've seen so
yeah,
many people make so much money with those "that'll never works" that,
yeah.
nah, sorry, I don't think that way. So, who is Chuck the Balls?
This is the little, yeah, I forgot to mention, he's the little ball character that we used in the sort of viral campaign. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, we just wanted to sort of, again, as I said, soften the approach to this by making this sort of making balls. I think people find balls funny. People don't
Mhm.
find penises funny, or
No.
vaginas funny, or asses. Maybe ass is up there with balls, but
Yeah.
balls are funny.
Yeah.
And when you characterize the balls, and this is what we did with Chuck the Balls, or Chuck as he is better known, people really sort of like grabbed.
Charles.
I want to say I don't want to say grabbed hold of it, but I will. They kind of really grabbed hold of that.
That's good.
Yeah, so it just felt right that we give balls a face and two arms and a mouth.
I love it.
It was
I love it.
lockdown. It was COVID, Bruce. What do you
Yeah,
expect? Come on,
yeah.
everyone went a bit crazy.
Ain't that the truth? Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. What were your experiences trying to launch a product? Obviously, you did it successfully, but during COVID.
Oh, it was damn hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard. Very stressful,
Hmm.
because all the usual processes just had collapsed. Number one, finding suppliers.
Yeah.
Normally, you'd go and visit 3 factories,
Hmm.
and I've never been to China. I've always just done it through sort of web meetings, email,
Hmm.
that sort of stuff. But
Right.
in this case, we really needed, because it was our product that we were manufacturing rather than buying Chinese products off a Chinese factory. We
Hmm.
really wanted to just go and get that. So
Sure.
couldn't do that. We thought about making it ourselves. How can we do that here in the UK with all the problems with Brexit and import and export and shipping?
And the expenses.
Oh, it was just no, just don't do it at all. So
Sure.
we ended up having to go with an agent, a manufacturing agent, who obviously sort of
Okay.
took their slice of the
Pound of
cost.
flesh.
Yeah, and it was also quite difficult because we're, engineers talking through salespeople to
Hmm.
engineers in the factory, and the messages not getting passed on correctly, and us receiving a sort of diluted version of what the engineer in the factory has said back about manufacturing issues. So
Yeah.
um,
Plus,
it was
plus they're Chinese, so that didn't help.
well, I to be honest, I find working with the Chinese factories, there's a style, isn't there? And
Hmm.
you once you know how to communicate with them,
Yeah.
how they do things, and when no means no from them,
Right.
uh, you know, that's when it's all okay.
Right.
That was sort of missing in this conversation, and it was very stressful, especially when we had deadlines. We had all these people who
Hmm.
paid money up front through a crowdfunding campaign, like,
Right.
where's my product, where's my product, why haven't I
Yeah.
got my product?
Sure.
Well, it's a pandemic and things are all collapsing around the world, so
Yeah.
that's number one, why you're 3 months late on getting it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was hard. So there was that. There was we ideally wanted some money. We wanted to launch a brand, not just a single product. So we had, it's very clear that we had other products that we wanted to bring to market. So we were looking for an investor from the outset. Just before the pandemic, we were having some, positive conversations with a number of parties,
Hmm.
and then they just vanished as
Yeah.
soon as the pandemic came out. Because why wouldn't you just want to sit there and guard your chips with your arms and wait until the storm's blown over?
Yeah.
So we just had to go ahead with the crowdfunding only, and
Hmm.
thank God it worked.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that was the biggest problem for us was shipping. Shipping just became an absolute nightmare
Yeah.
in terms of cost and also in terms of delays. So we ended up having to air freight our first shipment
Oh
to
Lord.
the US, which, instead of being pennies per unit, was dollars per unit.
Mm.
And, we're talking quite a lot of dollars per unit. So that sort of sucked a lot of profit out of the early sales, or we're still
Right.
still paying for that right now,
Mm.
because that stock is still being munched through, and
Right.
it was air freighted at the worst point in the pandemic, because if we didn't do that, we would have missed the start of the sort of season, as it were. So yeah, that was a big problem, and I think also having to do virtual trade shows, yourself, seeing people face to face
Oh,
at these type of
I hate
events.
virtual shows. I won't do them anymore.
Well, I don't think anyone will, to be honest with you. We're free again now, aren't we? But it was
Kinda.
well, yes, you're right. It depends where you live, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think we've forgotten all about it here in the UK now. Just get reminded every time we go to other countries when they ask us to fill in forms and wear masks and stuff. So it's yeah, it's I I think in-person events, that's where you build those trusts, get those business relationships,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's we spent a lot of money on virtual shows
Yeah.
where we could have
You can't simulate that. You just can't
no,
simulate that.
no, and you
It
can't
doesn't work.
you can't cut the deals as well. It's you've got to have that beer with somebody afterwards, or that little chat. That's
Right.
what cements in the deal.
Sure. So talk about the market reception of the Balldo.
Yeah, I think I sort of touched on it before. We sort of turned all the expectations around in making it a mainstream product. It's been picked up by the mainstream sort of press as well. So, we've
Mm-hmm.
had appearances in Cosmopolitan, Wired magazine, and foreign language media as well. Quite a bit of stuff sort of coming through in Germany now, and it's
Cool.
all mainstream stuff because it's so newsworthy. It's like, did you know that you can use your balls for penetration? And
Yeah.
it's not a kinky thing. It's just something you can actually do. So why not try it?
Exactly.
So we just got that sort of reception and that word of mouth sort of passing on, guys and gals in the bar going, hey, did you hear about the Balldo? It's that type of rollout that we're experiencing.
Sure.
Very much the opposite of the niche that was predicted.
Exactly. Thank you, Chuck. So tell me about your international customer base.
Yeah, I mean it's it's a little bit tricky. We're basically a US company.
Mhm.
Americans love balls. Americans find balls funny. Americans love trying new sex toys. That's our experience. So
Yep.
our customer base is 92% USA.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of
So
potential internationally.
yeah. So internationally, we think the sort of the other markets are only just starting to wake up.
Yep.
Germany, we assume would be, right up there
Yep.
with the US, but
Japan.
Japan will come to later. But yeah, there's a bit of a complexity there.
Well, so let's
Ge-
talk about that. What markets have been a struggle so far, and why do you think
yeah,
so?
Japan has been one.
Yes. Why?
I think it's one of anatomy, basically,
Oops.
and maybe there's you know we've had that kind of feedback from a couple of potential distributors
I
there,
see.
where they've said, look, we're just not sure whether this is going to work for Japanese guys and girls.
They are known. The Japanese guys are supposed to be the smallest in the world.
Yeah, well, I don't know about balls. There's not enough ball data out there, and
I just know about penises. I guess we have to take a survey of balls, but you got to kind of figure one will kind of follow the other.
yeah, I'd assume so. And also, I think if that's the case, then the partner is not likely to be expecting anything as big as the Balldo, which is 2 inches in diameter. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why. Maybe
You don't want to stretch
that's
those
the next.
poor Asian girls out.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, we won't go into the noises they make off the videos, but
No.
my girlfriend does a good impression. Uh,
We should have had her on.
ee, 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 ee.
That's pretty much it.
um, yeah, but it's so annoying because I really, really wanted the Japanese market to take it up, because
Yep.
I see the Japanese. I've spent a lot of time hanging out with Japanese people.
Hmm.
I love them. I think they've got the same sense of humor that
Yep.
we do in the UK and in the US as
Yep.
well. And it's that kind of comedic thing with a cartoon character as well. Just kind of it should fly there, Bruce. I think, and I think maybe it's just a comms thing which we need to sort of invest a little more money into
Hmm.
further down the track.
Maybe you should
Um,
do a Japanese version of Chuck-san.
yes, Chuck Sun with his his little
Kimono,
bandana on, yeah, and his kimono.
eating sushi. Oh man, I think we got a
Oh,
script.
the stereotypes are everywhere, aren't they?
I'm
Um,
terrible.
yeah. Well, yeah. So Japan. I think other markets that have been a struggle. Israel's been a real problem too.
Hmm.
We had a lot
Oh, my
of
people.
interest. I know. Well, we had a lot of interest from Israeli customers through the crowdfunding campaign, and we had a big problem with shipping to them. And
Yeah.
I think it's the alphabet issue. It just things are just getting completely lost, and trying to find them
Yeah.
just absolute failure. And the
Mm.
cost of upgrading that shipping to Israeli customers to, FedEx, DHL was just like triple the value of the product in some cases.
Mm.
So, you know,
Ouch.
maybe, well, the logical thing to do was get an Israeli distributor. And
Yes.
we explored two or three, didn't really get anywhere with them. And, I find that a bit annoying because there was definitely quite a strong appetite from the Israeli market. We got
Hmm.
a good signal from them. I would say confidently they're in the top five nationalities who were initially looking at wanting to buy the product. So
Interesting.
again, we need to do some more work there, and it's just time and getting it right, I think.
So, what's your impression so far of the adult market?
I love it as number one. I really like the people. We went to the XBiz retreat in Miami. That's our first actual face-to-face show, even though it's
Hmm.
not a true sort of, D2C show. It's
Hmm.
a B2B retreat, but everyone's really nice, very helpful. It's kind
Hmm.
of like a small community, but a strong community. And
Right.
yeah, I've had a ton of advice of some great people, and
Hmm.
I'm very thankful for that.
Sure. Sure. Now, how do you see? We talked a little bit about this earlier. How do you see the market for ball related products growing?
uh, you're asking. Uh, I think maybe you might need an independent on that, but from my angle,
Oh, you mean
uh,
you're slightly prejudiced? Is that what you're
I
trying to
I might
say?
be a little, yeah,
Maybe a
yeah, yeah.
tad.
But
Yeah.
but one thing I am really pushing for in the industry is to have the category of ball related products, because if you look on
Hmm.
any e-commerce store, you try and find something for balls, it's under cock ring.
Yeah.
It's not a cock ring, it's for balls. It's
Right.
there's specific products for balls, not
Yeah.
just the Balldo or any of the Balldo's brothers and sisters when they come online. There's a whole ton of products out there that are balls specific.
Right.
So why isn't there that balls category
Hmm.
in e-commerce? Why isn't there that
Maybe
ball?
Baldo will change that.
Well, I think I've already got a couple of e-commerce sites to create a balls category, and then they've
Excellent.
dropped in a whole bunch of other complementary products, or well, I
Hmm.
say complementary, I mean other ball products in
Right.
there.
Right.
Lubes, ball stretchers, that type of thing, and the feedback we've had is that it's working. They're getting
Hmm.
good sort of sales through by doing that. So
Right.
I would say in 3 to 5, your all of your e-commerce will have a ball section.
That'll certainly
Uh,
help.
yeah, 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 yeah. And people, a lot of the feedback we've had from, I was talking earlier about the sort of industry veterans saying, "Look, I
Hmm.
thought I'd seen it all." Well, this whole new sort of we've unlocked the door to balls as something that needs to be recognized as a
Hmm.
thing that can be stimulated, as a
Hmm.
thing that can often make up for poor performance or medical issues.
Yeah,
um,
talk a little bit about that, would you please, Jerry?
yeah, sure.
Because that is a real appeal for men who have erectile dysfunction, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll just sort of flag here straight away that I'm not a medical profession, so I can't sort of categorically say it's great for ED. But what I
Hmm.
do know is, and bizarrely enough, I actually had ED for about 6 months during COVID
Hmm.
when I got a prostatitis infection, which
Oh,
really knocked seven shades of shit out of me. I couldn't get it up. I could only get like half erect at best. I
eek.
just didn't have that feeling there that
Right.
you have when you get that when you want to go,
Yeah.
and having using the Balldo, I was still able to sort of pleasure my partner with a good girth.
Mm-hmm.
I can get the sensation of the stimulation of the sort of nerve endings in my balls.
Mm-hmm.
Probably made my cock about as erect as I could get it at the time. It's kind of like having your balls suck. It's a key trigger. It's a key trigger to sort of maximize the potential. And I think for guys that suffer from ED, or my experience, I think you spend about 2 or 3 months going, oh yeah, it'll come back soon. It'll come back soon. It'll come
Yeah.
back soon. And then
Yeah.
it doesn't. And you're
Wishful
like,
thinking. Sure. Sure.
oh my God, and then the embarrassment starts setting in, and the self sort of criticisms, and
Sure.
the depression sets in about it, and the
Mm-hmm.
desperation.
Yeah.
And I think with having something like the Balldo and still being able to make your wife come, or your partner come,
Mm-hmm.
give them good girth, have that sensation, that stimulation, and not feel like you're tying a strap on around and fucking your partner with your stomach. It's down there. It's where it's meant to be. And
By the way, what about the gay market? Have you considered that?
yeah. I mean, again, that was another sort of thing that we assumed would be the number one source of interest and customer. I think that's still yet to happen. I think we haven't really sort of reached the sort of penetration into
So to
that
speak.
market, so to speak. I'm immune to these innuendos now, Bruce.
Can't imagine.
You should be too
Double
in the adult
meanings. Double
industry.
meanings. I just go. Oh, they just roll right off my tongue too, Jerry. All
Balls
day, all
deep,
night.
balls to the wall, all of that
Yep.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So I think half of it is gay is very much, they will have tried an awful lot of this stuff before,
Mm-hmm.
with whatever means they can, whether
Sure.
it's cock rings, or tying a pair of underwear around the top, or leather sort of supports. It's largely been sort of already done, but I think then I don't think that market has woken up to it yet.
Sure.
And that, I know a lot of gay people, and my one good friend, he's like, look, we are the dirtiest bastards in the world. We will try anything. We
Yes,
we we want to go
they
and
will.
talk about the new thing, and
Mm-hmm.
that is how I get my cool points in the group. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm sort of surprised. I think it's a marketing thing. I think we just need to
Yep.
sort of lift our game a bit in that sector.
Maybe you need a gay Chuck.
Yeah, could do. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Hey, or Chuck's
uh,
brother. Chuck's brother.
yeah, Chuck's gay half brother.
Billy Balls.
Yeah, Billy Ball. So I'll think of it. It'll
I
probably
won't
come to
charge
me
you
in
for
this
that.
interview.
I won't. I won't charge. I won't charge you for my marketing genius. So, what are your? He laughs. So, what are your plans for the progression of the Nazareth brand and the Balldo, and what new products are you going to be launching soon?
First things first. Balldo is version 1 of
Right.
the Balldo.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had our sort of initial, and that's another thing that was really hard with lockdown, was getting testing groups, getting people
Mm-hmm.
together, finding sort of testers, being able to make the samples to send to them and get the materials, blah blah blah. It
Mm-hmm.
was tough.
Yeah.
So we've now had over, I don't know, maybe 9,000 people officially test it for us by buying the product. You've got a lot of feedback from those groups. We had some sort of, again, I was talking earlier about the size of balls, and
Mm-hmm.
how guys just don't know what size their balls are, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got guys who've got absolutely gigantic balls who just think they don't think about it. They're just like, oh, I've got balls. That's it. It's maybe only their partner that ever sees them. And what if that partner's never seen another man? What if they don't really watch porn that much?
Right.
You just don't know how big or small you are. So we had some sort of feedback with guys with big nuts that it was a little hard to get on with them for them. So what we're looking at is a product where you kind of separate the upper ring so that you can you don't have to stretch it over your balls.
Cool.
We've got some sort of more design coming into the tip, a little more on the tickling sort of front for the ladies. And we've got a Balldo that's in the pipeline as well. So that's basically a vibrating version. We've had a lot of requests
That'll
for
be
that.
popular.
Yeah. So that one's sort of nearing design completion. And then we've got a whole bunch of other products. So Balldo's sort of really Balldo was the one we sort of knew would probably get the most news, and that's why we launched it first.
Right.
But we've got another 2 or 3 products that are equally as sort of out there and different and good as the Balldo, which we need to bring to market as well.
Great.
So again, it's all time, money, team, resources, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again soon.
Thank you very much, Bruce. It was good fun. Thanks.
My pleasure. My broker tip today is part 1 on how to buy a website. The first question to ask yourself is, what kind of site would you like to buy? Would you like a tube site, a cam site, a dating site, a membership site, a social media site, or something else? If you want to buy a membership site, what type of site do you want and what niche? There are literally hundreds of niches and many sub-niches. For instance, let's say you want to buy a gay site. Under gay, there's bears or mature, bareback, Asian, Latino, amateur, bi, black, Euro, and fetish, along with many sub-fetishes. Plus, there's hardcore, jocks, porn stars, solo, trans, twinks, and uniforms. Straight has even more sub-niches. I can't tell you how many people contact me and just say, I want to buy a site, or I want to buy a pay site. I need more information than that. How you make this decision should be based on these factors. What interests you? What you enjoy should definitely play a part in what you buy. If you like men and want to make money on a straight site, that's probably a really bad idea. Same thing if you're straight and want to buy a gay site. So what you like plays a part. What's your budget? This is something you need to establish at the very beginning. Not only do you need to know what it is you're working with, but some classifications of sites are more expensive than others. For instance, if you want a cam site with any traffic or revenue at all, you're going to need a lot of money. In fact, to buy any established and successful site will be somewhat expensive. If you buy a site that's pretty much just a platform without traffic or sales, you're going to need a huge investment to build it up. In that case, it might actually be as good or better just to start your own site. That way you get exactly what it is you're looking for. We'll talk about this subject more next week. And next week we'll be speaking with Carl Edwards of Stiff Media. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Jerry Davies of Balldo. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.